intended on coming to Mankato for, like most kids out of college, 3 to 4 years. And well, here I am. Best sales job of my life was convincing my wife to move down to Mankato with me. And we have been in town. We got married in 2006, bought a house just before that, and then we moved. We lived, like I said, right by Dr. Osborne, about 6 blocks away from the hospital, on Glen Crest Drive. So my ravine goes down to Glenwood. So I get to see, you know, if somebody comes down Monks Avenue too fast, we can hear a car crash down at the base of the hill. No, we haven't, but you know, wait till my kids are driving. But I got involved. I joined Kiwanis the first year I was down here. The owner of the Moondogs was in it, and he was moving to Minneapolis, and I did a lot of different fundraising opportunities. A lot of work for not a lot of bang. We did a lot of, we did some cardboard recycling. We sold peanuts one day. We did a pancake breakfast. We still do a golf tournament. There's a lot of these things, and we always said we needed something to hang our hat on, as far as both a fundraiser and to give back to the community. And Scott grew up near Marshfield, Wisconsin, and they have an event somewhat similar to what we have. And then we went to La Crosse and saw Rotary Lights in La Crosse, and they shared everything, and hence became the idea of Kiwanis Holiday Lights. So we started planning for this in 2011. I still joke that I should have said to Scott, I should have said, you know what, I'm not interested. I've had so much more time in my life the last 8 years. But it took us about 20 months to plan the event out. We officially unveiled the event on a 98-degree day in Sibley Park in June. And flash forward about 6 months, on January 1st, after the first year we tore it down, it was 19 below zero. It's the coldest day we've ever had working in the park as far as tear down or setup. But we unveiled the event that day. We had 2 huge partners in the Mankato Area Foundation and CHS. All told, between that and another foundation, we had about $100,000. And we probably spent $90,000 of that on the first round of lights that we bought for the park. After that, getting the rest of the proceeds was telling a story. I think I had about 4 meetings like this with a bunch of businesses in town, and we had our board along with me. I led the presentations, and we got a lot of partnership from everyone in town. There's another Moondogs fan. Gosh, I know a lot of people. And there's a Kiwanian. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
And so with that came Kiwanis Holiday Lights. Wayne?
I don't know.
All right, who else is coming? Are you paying people to come in here that know me? I mean, this is, you know, either they're going to harass me more or they're going to go easy on me. I don't know which was which.
They grabbed me on the street and brought me in.
Well, yeah, well, it's some people here. You know, Mike felt bad. But, so that's really where the idea came from. We wanted an event that we could hang our hat on as far as something that Kiwanis could be proud of, as well as a fundraising opportunity. So, when we started, we were aligned, we were a subsidiary of the Kiwanis Club, and about 2 years later, we became our own nonprofit, our own 501c3. So everything that comes through us, we're our own charity, and most of that money either funnels back into the park to grow it, or we donate it back into the community. So when we started it, we asked a lot of people for money. We asked a lot of people, hey, can you help out with this? What are you going to get back? Nothing. For those who know the Moondogs, you want to give me money, I'll put your logo wherever you want it, we'll splash it everywhere, we'll do whatever we can, and this was just the opposite. Our goal with Kiwanis Holiday Lights was to create as much of a non-commercialized event as possible. So when you came in, there wasn't, you know, the McDonald's tree here and the Hickory Tech this. It was you came in and you were just able to enjoy the event. And we've stuck through that. When you come in the park, as Mike was talking about, we've got a sign that flashes who sponsors the night and who's the volunteers of the night. And then as you come in, you get a program, but within the park, there's no commercial advertising. And I'll tell you, as somebody who handles a lot of the marketing and sponsorships for it, that's the #1 question we get asked. How do we get our name in there? How do we pay for our name to be in there? We just say no. We could probably make a lot more money, potentially, in the short term, but I think long term it would hurt us, and that's the event that we wanted to create. So if you come through the park, you'll see some trees on the west side as you walk through the park. And they're decorated by all the nonprofits. And they get their name on it, and they get to see in front of a ton of people. And that's the only advertising we have in the park is for all those nonprofits. They get to share the proceeds of it, and they get all the notoriety for helping us do it. So that's kind of where the event came from. And I'll go through some of the numbers as we've grown and what we're doing this year. And then we're already planning for 2 years down the road when it's our 10th season. We've got some things that are hidden under a cap somewhere that we're not going to tell anybody about, but we're pretty excited. In general, if I just go on the record and say things like prior to our 5th year, I got interviewed at the end of the year when we were tearing down, and they said, what's going new? And I said, we'll have a display with fire in it in the middle of the park. We talked about it, but then I went on TV and said we were going to do it. Well, we had fire in the park the next year. So if we really want something, I'll just go run my mouth, and then I get Scott in trouble. So this is 2018. So this is last year. This was year 7. We had just over 180,000 people come through the park. That's an estimate. Obviously, we don't sit and count. We do estimates about 5 or 6 nights during the event, and you can kind of extrapolate the data. We do know that on a busy night, on a Friday or Saturday night, in most cars we can get through is about 210 an hour. So you can figure about 1,000 cars a night on those nights, because we'll have a line at 5 o'clock, and the cars will be continuously through that park until after 10 o'clock. What we do at 10 o'clock is we'll send a little vehicle out to the last car in line. So it's not like if you're in line, we just shut the lights out. We let that car go through all the way, reasonably go through, because there's some people that like to doubt a little bit. Well, the park is staffed by volunteers. They all want to get home. I just want to get to the bottom. I mean, I want to get home to my family. But then we still have a lot of work to take down the park and everything. And so some of those nights, somebody who's in the park might not leave until 11 or 11:30. I've heard of people the first couple of years, it was close to midnight by the time we'd leave on some of those busy nights. And you also close the park and don't let the people in afterwards. You hear some colorful language, is that the right thing? We don't have to edit that out. If I'd say what they told me, I'd get in a lot of trouble. So we don't charge for the event. We get the sponsorships. We do not charge a dime for anybody to come through the park. There's several of these other displays throughout the state, and they charge you per person, per car load. There's going to be one that's on 169 that's starting, which I'm kind of excited to see, but it's 20 bucks a car to go through. On Fridays and Saturdays, busier nights when it's going to be slower, it's 25 bucks. Interesting marketing strategy. When it's harder to get in, we'll charge you more. But good for them. They're businesses, we are a nonprofit. Our goal is to give back to the community and create this event and keep it fun and keep it going for years to come. So we collect food. All the food that we collect goes to, I think this year, it's 17 different area food shelves. So when we talk about Mankato and the greater area, we're going up to New Ulm, we're going up to Faribault, we're going down to Fairmont. We have spread out throughout the south central part of the state. Last year it was just over 13 tons of food that we gave back. We gave back about $65,000 to the community through the 70 or so different nonprofits that we partner with. This one, 39 nights. We start the Friday after Thanksgiving, every year, the Friday after Thanksgiving. So when people are out shopping and hanging out with their family, we're putting last minute touches on Sibley Park that night, which might be better than hanging with your family at that point anyway, you know, who knows. 39 nights. This year Thanksgiving is the latest it can be based off the calendar. We're only open 33 nights. You know who's the happiest? My wife. And a lot of the spouses of those of us who do this, because it's the shortest event we can have. The challenge with that is we donated $65,000. Well, this year we're open 6 less days. So how can we fundraise and collect that amount of money? And that's, I don't know what the answer is. We'll continue to do things the way we do. If we collect a little bit less, it is what it is. You know, we're not a business that has to turn a profit. We just want to keep going and moving forward. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, weather permitting, we have live wagon ride, or we have horse-drawn wagon rides. If you get down there, it's $5 a person, and we get most of that money. Some of it goes to the guy. The horse is, you know, he's got to take care of his stuff. We had over 2,400 people ride on those last year, which is pretty cool. It's a neat event. I went on it for the first time, I think, last year or 2 years ago with our daughter, and it is fun to go through it. I still wish I could get amnesia for a night and kind of forget everything I know about this and just go through and kind of with my eyes wide open go, this is cool. Scott might kill me if I permanently forget everything, but who knows. This is what we've done over 7 years. This year we'll cross over 100 tons of food, which is pretty impressive when you think about the sheer amount of weight that goes. There's a couple of places in the area that'll say what they collect that night will fill their shelves for up to 6 months. This is an echo. I mean, they get some of it, but some of the smaller ones, they said this is invaluable to what they can provide for their people. We've donated over $350,000, so this year we expect that number to go over $400,000. And last year, around December 15th, we had the 1 millionth person go through Kiwanis Holiday Lights, which we wanted to kind of do a celebration, but that number's kind of arbitrary. Where do you pick that person that night? We knew roughly where it was. And I think if you look back at those days in 2011, I don't think any of us envisioned some of this stuff. This was a pipe dream. This was an idea that we hoped to be cool, and now it's taken, you know, a life of its own, essentially.
So Kyle, is it over on New Year's Eve?
It's over December 31st. So New Year's Eve is the last night, depending on what day of the week it is. Sunday through Thursday we're open 5 to 9, and on those nights mainly we're done by 9 o'clock. Crowds are pretty well thinned out. Fridays and Saturdays we have a bonus hour. We're open until 10. So if New Year's Eve falls on a Friday or Saturday, we're open. We had discussions years ago. I like to push the envelope with entertainment. I'd love to do fireworks on New Year's Eve. Wouldn't that be cool to add to this town? Yeah, if you know Sibley Park, there's a lot of trees. Fireworks and trees probably, you know, probably aren't a good idea.
Could do it out in the middle of the river.
Oh, we thought about that. You know, if we'd be on the other side, if that big sledding hill and everything wasn't there, we could do something cool over there, but that would we wouldn't be close enough to the park. And I know there's communities that do their own celebration. What they'll do is they'll do an 8 o'clock one, and then they'll do a midnight one. So you kind of get the kiddos out for one, and then, you know, the adults that want to act like kids can stay open till midnight. Here's pictures from over the years. One of the best things that we've ever done is we've got the colleges involved. It's the cool thing. We have so many different people who come and help us out, and there's ways that you can help out in warm areas, there's ways you can climb up ladders. I hate heights, so it's ironic that I'm in charge of an event where we decorate things that go 50 feet up, and I hate heights. But this is a picture, I think that's the basketball team. We have every sports team from MSU come down and volunteer in the next 5 weeks on a Saturday or Sunday and help hang lights. We have a good slew of the teams from Bethany, and we have a handful from Gustavus. I tell you what, those kids take ownership of that park. It's cool. They like to horse around and play a little grab ass from time to time because, well, that's what 18 to 22-year-old men know how to, boys know how to do. But it's neat to see them. We've got our key clubs come out. We've got high school kids who come out, and it's great to see them take ownership because you think of the people who might do something a little, maybe with their head not on at night, do something dumb. Well, the more the kids get involved, the more ownership they take. And we've been relatively lucky. We've had very little vandalism, very little damage, nothing major stolen. I mean, some dumb people do dumb things, walk through the park, yank some lights down, and we gotta fix those. But I mean, all things told, all things considered. And now we provide security overnight. We partner with the TKEs up on campus. They stay on site overnight. Kudos to them. They'll patrol the park every couple hours. The cops come through more. So we do have people out there, and they scare some people away. But all things considered, it's gone well. You can see some of our younger volunteers here. This is out in the center of the park. I think they are helping put up the giant tree. If you look at those jackets, almost match those two. So again, heights, that's not me up in that. That's about 45 feet up. You know, we do have harnesses. We try to keep everybody as safe as possible. But it's a very manual process for this. We do all the work ourselves, and it takes us 5 weekends in the park. We start this Saturday. We go every weekend up to when we open up on I think this year, November 29th. During the week, we'll have the City of Mankato, the City of North Mankato, some electrical companies and tree trimming companies. They'll be up during the week putting the trees up, putting the lights up in the canopies. They used to help us on the weekends, but those guys like time off too. Shocking. They don't want to work Monday through Friday and then have to work on Saturday and Sunday. So now what we've done is we'll provide a volunteer to open everything up, get the lights out, and they work during the week, which works out much better for those guys as well. So we do have people down there over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Teardown happens 3 days. January 1st, when everybody has off, we ask for volunteers, and then whatever that first weekend is. This year I think it's the 4th and 5th. And we'll tear everything out of that park, save for some lights up in the canopies, in 2.5 to 3 days. We'll be 100% out of that park. Everything on the ground is gone. And it gets stored in a warehouse right down in Sibley Park, which, if you go right now, man, that you can't move around much. There is so much stuff. It's very well organized. There's pallets, there's racking, everything is organized. If you go there when we open up on November 29th, that place is empty. It's amazing what we can put up, and then how the heck we can, you know, in the first couple of years it wasn't organized. So you can see when you tear down, all the lights get all balled up. We've got a warm part of the warehouse. We store a lot of things in. They thaw out over the course of 10-15 minutes. Then we have crews that just stay in the warm area and spool up all these lights, spool up all these electrical cords. They get on those electrical spools, they all get put on pallets. They all go up in pallet racking. They're all out of the way. A lot of the winding of this will happen at the beginning of the new year, and we've had sentenced to serve people down there for the last handful of years, and they do a ton of it for us. Allows us to focus on getting everything out of the park, and those guys like to work. They get to work inside. Come that time of the year, they're asked to do things, or voluntold maybe to do things. I think voluntold is the word I'd use. And they like ours because it's inside in January. They rather like that. So last year, 13,000 hours of volunteers, 2,500 volunteers came down there. Setup will be about 1,500 of those volunteers will come over the weekends. And it's my job, one of my jobs, to staff everybody and tell everybody what they do. So I get to tell people what they do every day and every weekend. There's weekends I don't hang a light, which some people that would drive nuts. Scott, that would drive Scott nuts. Our president, he just wants to work. And instead, it's like, hey, I'll keep everybody busy. And if you're down there, Mike's been down there, we have walkie-talkies. And about every 5 minutes, Kyle, can you come here? Kyle, can you come here? What are we doing over here? And that's all I do is run around the park. And then I go hide to check my fantasy football team on Sunday morning when everyone's busy. This is some of the data that I was talking about just in the past. It shows you how we've grown. 2017, a little less total hours, a little less volunteers. Again, last year was our longest year. 2012, our first year, just over 7,000 volunteer hours. We probably hung about 700,000 lights that first year. We had a bunch left over in our warehouse because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We got better at that. We replaced and grown. We're up to about 1.6, 1.7 million lights in that park. It takes more to do it. We've got more efficiencies, but we certainly have ramped that up. Over the years, we've had over 100 nonprofits, and we have a waiting list. I don't think we ever envisioned a waiting list of these groups. And what we do now is we rotate about 10 new in a year. We ask some to take the year off, some to get back in. They recoup, and their value, I guess, if you'd say, is in the exposure they get, because they get the recognition down there, and then they get paychecks back, and that's distributed different ways. I think the MSU students last year had over 2,000 hours down there. I mean, they accomplish a lot, and they're pretty fantastic. And we don't include our board members. I don't want to know how many hours I put in there. You know who I really don't want to know how many hours? My wife. She doesn't need to know how much time I spend on this either, although she kind of knows. We also feed our volunteers. Every weekend we feed the people who come down and help, and every night that we're open in our trailer, we've got a heated trailer. It's an old refrigerator trailer that we insulated, put chairs in, and have a safe area to count all the donations. And then we feed them. So you talk about the nonprofits. We also have all these restaurants that will give a warm meal to everybody who helps out, which on some of those cold nights, yeah, give me a warm cup of soup. It's fantastic. And in that trailer, we've got hot chocolate, we've got snacks. When you volunteer, you're taken care of. At least we hope so anyway.
And I just wanted to say that this year, Vine Faith in Action is once again a nonprofit. We are going to be delivering those meals every night of the Kiwanis Holiday Lights. So I'm coordinating that. If you have any interest in doing that, please contact me.
That's awesome. So I was telling Mike, the first couple of years, we've got a friend who has a small plane, and he has to get so many hours. He's in a co-op. I don't know how all this works. But he offered to take Scott and I and our families up to go see the lights, fly over the park, which was awesome. Promptly, the lawyer on our board said, you and Scott can never be in that plane together, because God forbid anything would happen to the two of you. And I'm like, seriously? Come on, Debbie Downer, let's, we still go up there. We took pictures. It was cool. You know what's cooler? Somebody knows how to fly a drone with a high-definition camera to take pictures of this park each and every year. I don't know if this was the picture, but the first year we did drone up there, I took, we uploaded a picture, and I help manage Facebook. We have Facebook and Twitter and all these things that the young kids do. And Facebook is, the event's very visually driven. I mean, you take pictures down there, it's cool to see. We put a picture up, I want to say, the most people that we ever had saw a picture was like 15,000. And it was maybe one of the end of the year ones. Hey, this is so much we donated, people shared it. This picture, 130,000 people saw one of our pictures from Kiwanis Holiday Lights. And it's kind of cool. It was kind of the nerd in me, I guess, as I sat there on my couch that night, and the numbers just kept increasing and increasing. You're like, this is awesome. You think about the reach that one picture can get you. But the cool thing is we've had this for about 5 years now, so you get to see how much more we grow the park and grow the park. The displays here, the dancing lights are down in this area, and this is CHS. So you get to see, I jokingly asked if they could change all these white lights to Christmas lights. That'd be kind of fun if they, Senex Harvest Estates Honeymead, their big soybean processing plant right off 169. So that's, you know,
I was gonna say, where's Pastone?
Pastone is right
Back
up
there, yeah.
here,
Oh,
right here.
okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say, is that up there, did look at Pastone?
No, Pastone's right up here, so
Okay.
there's an entrance to the park over here.
Yeah.
And then the neat thing is, a lot of different events, you can either walk through, like Duluth has one, they have a very cool one, it's right on the lake,
Yeah.
which the
Wow.
lights reflecting off the lake would be awesome.
Mhm.
I don't know if the wind off the lake in December is so awesome, but we don't have to worry about that. We also, you can drive through our event. And that's one of the things, I get to work on a lot of the technology with this. So when you drive through, we have 2 different radio stations you can turn your radio to. So as you're driving in, it gives you historical facts about the park, it tells you who's the volunteers for the night, it's every night it's different. We work with the radio Mankato to do all that stuff. And as you get farther into the park and drive around the loop, this whole area is set to music, it's synced up, it's programmed to music. And so then you turn your radio station to that. That station's also broadcast, so as you're walking through, you can hear it. So you really get both experiences. You can do both. You can drive through and then park over here by the playground, and then walk through, park in the neighborhood, park down by CHS and walk through, or you can drive through it. I would tell you, if you're driving through it on a Friday or Saturday, plan on an hour and a half to 2 hour wait to get into the park. We tell people either walk those nights, or if you're gonna drive, go Sunday through Thursday, if you're local.
Yeah, we walked in, and the music is cool on the end by
Yep.
the railroad tracks, okay? But when we got to the other end, then there was nothing, and that was really disappointing.
We have some music going, and I would tell you that you're on the half side that wants more music everywhere, and there's other people who want it to be quiet. They
Really?
just want to be able to talk to their friends, you know, so up in this area, especially, this is where Santa is, here's a little pond in Sibley Park. We have music that's piped in. It's not very loud, but we have it. And we've slowly expanded a little bit, but we were asked by a lot of people to say, hey, can you make this middle just a little quieter? Plus you need to have some distance between the 2
Yeah.
stations, because they play totally different things. But so we've got that, and we've been asked if we could push it up this way a little bit at this entrance, which we can go to our partners who do some of the electrical stuff and say, hey, can we get another speaker bumped up there? But you can't have it too loud just for that speaker, because then it blares out down here and it's too loud, you know, by the reindeer, and we're saying that. So you kind of have to bridge that
And
balance.
you changed the music a little bit last year.
Yeah.
We add some new songs,
Yeah.
and you edit some, and then somebody else wants to add some, and you go, well, we try to keep it as classical as you can, I guess.
Yeah, I like the old ones.
Yeah, when we went through last year, it was really hard to hear the radio stations. They were really, you know, they were, it wasn't very good reception at all.
I will tell you 2 things we learned last year. The radio station that came in down here, somebody added an extra radio station that we didn't know about, because you can go through and see what radio stations are around, and we were picking up another station, so we changed that about halfway through. And this year we're back to our old frequency, which is no longer being used by somebody out of Duluth. Get that? It was weird. I learned a lot about radio frequencies that I never expected to learn. And it depends car to car. I'll tell you, my car picked it up perfect. I drive my wife's car, I couldn't pick up the radio station nearly the same way. I have no idea why. We got the radio guys down here and they couldn't answer.
Yeah, just turn the radio on.
Well, yeah, there's that. I'm normally yelling at the 2 girls in the back, so I want less noise. But so we've grown. A lot of the time we kept everything on the inside. So this part, they didn't have an electrical grid, if you will, for this. The first year we had to spend $30,000 to run all our electricity. And over the last few years we've expanded to the other side of the road, so now people have asked, will you ever grow to that whole lower level of the park? No. And if they want to, bye. I'll enjoy it. Realistically, we could never do it just the sheer cost of it. Plus, we have to start decorating in July, and who knows how long it takes to get us out. And we can't leave the lights up. We've accidentally done that a few times. Squirrels, who knows what, destroy those. It's a lost cause. So we've asked Adam, why couldn't you just leave them up? And that doesn't really work. But so we've grown it out. We've added more displays. The tree in the center, we're looking at a new one potentially in the future. That's about 45 to 55 feet high. There's an extension some years. Scott remembers to move the extension up. One year we maxed it out. That got a little hairy. The thing had a little bend at the top. It never went anywhere. I mean, it's very secure. But, we added a skating rink where people can skate around there. It's decorated by 2 trees right in the middle. It lights it all up. This year, we don't have those trees. They're ash trees. The city, if you read the paper, has to worry about all the ash borer. Those 2 giant trees are 2 that are the first ones that have been taken out. So now we get a light up that area some other way. How? To be determined. We haven't figured that out yet. But so we've added a lot of these displays throughout the park. Some we've purchased. Blue Earth used to have a big display down at their fairground. As that display slowly went away, some businesses took the displays and they donated a ton of them to us. So we've been able to keep them back in our warehouse. The difference is those are all incandescent bulbs. We are all LED. So everything in there. So some of these bigger displays, we have a huge 19-piece nativity scene. We estimate there was about 5,000 light bulbs that had to get changed. Even I can change light bulbs. Unscrew, screw in, easy. Mary, you could even do that. You know, stand on a ladder and put the stuff on, a 7-foot display. But the whole park is LEDs. We figure it costs us about $25 a night to light up the park. It costs us about $25 more to heat the area. So our trailer, that's on the back side over here. The skating rink warming house, that's right over here. And then our concessions warming house. That costs us about, so all told, it'll be $1,300 to $1,500 will be our electrical bill for the whole year, which we thought was pretty good. So that was our goal from the get-go. I mean, it's cheaper, it's more green, the lights don't go out so fast. If you notice the old strands, you blend light bulb would pull out. That's not the case with these. They continue. We get about 5 to 7 years use of the lights, generally speaking, on how we take care of it.
When did you start doing LED lights, or?
We started year one. We did, and most everything in there, some of the displays that we had up, the way the rope lighting worked, we couldn't use LED just because they only had one direction. So as you drive around the park, then you couldn't see it from the other side if you weren't facing it, or if you attached the light, when you put on the rope lights, if it turned, you didn't know, because you're doing it during the day. And then you'd light it up, you have a few choice words, have to turn some stuff. So that we've all gotten rid of, and we've gotten rid of the rope lighting and gone to more of the bigger bulbs that we attached all of that. So this year we got a new display coming in. We have an artist out of Kasota who's making us a 12 feet high. The train is 13 feet long, and then 2 cars after it. So it's going to be, I guess, what puts us about 35 feet long. And that's going to go around a big tree up there. But he's welding it. It's all made out of metal. He's welding it. We've got somebody else in town who's going to sandblast it so it doesn't rust. And then we attach just strands of lights with no bulbs in it, but every 6 inches there's a spot where we can put a bulb in it. And then we have to attach it to every piece of metal so it looks like the train, and then put in all the right color lights. And then on that one we animate it. So we're going to make it look like the wheels are moving, smoke is coming out, which is intense. I kind of know what I'm doing with that, but not really. But it's, again, he was willing to donate his time and talents in creating that. Now we just have to light it up. Those light bulbs cost 75 cents to $1 a piece. So when I say 5,000, plan $5,000, which is not cheap. But when you're not using a lot of power, and I've been standing on top of a table, dropped one of those lights, picked it up, screwed it in, it still works. Those old bulbs, that's not happening.
No.
So they're much more durable.
That you've had some very windy nights. I'm impressed
Yes.
how the lights stayed on the trees.
That's a
How do they anchor them?
They don't. I
They
mean, that's a
don't?
tribute to the city guys, knowing that they wrap them, they don't just set them on, but they kind of wrap them, or they'll make sure they're a little bit tighter. The first year, Thanksgiving night, the first year we had this, it was super windy, like beyond windy. And prior to that, like that center tree that we had out there, well now, we have concrete in the ground with anchors, and trees not going anywhere. But the first year, it was just these big screws that you'd screw in. We got out there that night, 3 of those guy wires, 6 guy wires that come down, 3 of them were loose. We had our cars out there lighting it up. It's 10 at night, trying to tighten it. That was not what we needed the day before we were first opening that park. There was a lot of work that had to get done. But most of these things aren't going to go anywhere. We have very little damage. And it is
Awesome.
windy in Mankato. What? Never.
And you're down in the valley with all the trees.
Yeah, and we will have a few drop, but for the most part we don't. Now we have a lift down there that, a couple times during the year we'll go out and do some repairs and fix some stuff and you find where the squirrels nest in those trees pretty easily, and then you move the lights because else they just keep chewing through it. We don't like squirrels.
No.
We're not a fan.
Who does?
Well, that's a good question. Hunters, maybe? So during the event, we had this I don't know if any of you went through it, but this is only in Minnesota hashtag. And We had that for 2 weeks last year. It was the most popular things. People love taking
Everybody
pictures.
taking their pictures.
We have it
Everybody.
all of this year. The tour, Minnesota, what is it? Tourism,
Explore Minnesota?
what is it?
Explore.
Explore Minnesota, there you go. We're getting it the whole time. No one's ever had it as long as we've had it. People probably don't want it in the middle of winter, but we'll take it. So it's gonna be there the whole time for pictures. And when people go out on social media, man, that goes everywhere. Last year, the coldest temp during the event, 1 degree. Last year was pretty mild. That's probably why we had a lot of people there. Average 33 degrees. Think about that. You remember last winter how miserable it was? December was one of the warmest Decembers we've ever had. You just all remember February and how miserable. The only thing good about February last year, it was only 28 days. That's about it. Our first day of teardown, 17 below zero when he showed up. Look at the next 2 days. That
42.
Saturday and Sunday, it was 43 degrees. So you went down there from wearing everything you could to stay warm. I think that I didn't have snow pants on, I didn't have a jacket on. You were moving, it was sunny, it was awesome. And about 1.7 lights, 1.7 million lights. All those nonprofit trees that I talked about that they get, we encourage them to decorate them. They can take their liberties, do whatever they want. We give out prizes for that. Echo Food Shelf, and we tell them to get creative. See, Echo had their tree in a grocery cart, which I thought was pretty cool. They won first place. It's voted on by everybody who goes through. Benches won second, and the league won third. So we started that kind of a way to incentivize and come up with cool stuff. Like the fire department one year, burned their tree, kind of to show the dangers of your tree. Well, it was a fresh tree. They couldn't start the thing on fire to save it. It was hilarious, because they just wanted to burn it and then stick it up and they couldn't get it going. So it's not going to burn right away, but if you let it there too long, as I can speak for myself, they start on fire. So I've kind of talked to a lot of this. This is the entrance down by CHS where you walk under the bridge. We're trying to work on a brand new entrance here that would be bigger when you really come in. It'd be spectacular. The problem is we got to work with the railroad company, and they don't want certain lights up top because red lights can stop, green lights can go. So we're trying to do something down there. And we're going to respect what they have. I mean, that's no big deal. But it'd be cool if there was like a big castle that was built on there. And we could sync it up to the whole dancing lights. You'd come in and just be blown away by it, which I think would be fun. I've talked about some of this stuff already. You guys have asked some good questions. We set up in about 10 days. We tear down in about 3. All volunteers. Nobody gets paid for this. So there's not a single person down there who gets paid. In 7 years, well below zero in snowstorms, we've never once closed the event. Now we're getting to the point where there's a certain amount of pride that, okay, we haven't closed this. You don't want to be the guy in charge of the park who has to close. And I would tell you, if it's snowing in town and you can get down there, the nights when it's a fresh coat of snow are some of the most awesome nights. There's not a lot of people down there. Pictures are great. It's quiet. There's just something about it. We went last year and we were like, no, this is cool. It's really cool. And then you get out in the park and make snow angels. No, you don't go outside the path, people. Come on. We have a parade on opening night. We've had that every year. It takes about 150 hours to run the parade. We've got a ton of volunteers out there. I will tell you that I get to MC the opening ceremonies where we give away the best, we introduce a couple of key people, give away a prize for the best float. That's the only night where the park is entirely dark. And we have a countdown. And Santa, wink, wink, turns on the lights as I talk on my microphone and everybody in the park who can flip switches. I would tell you about 98% of the park goes on with one switch. There's a handful, like the buildings up around where our trailer is, they're on a few other plugins, which we just can't get around. But about 98% of the park. And that night when it goes from pitch black to light, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
I get to be the one who sees it. I think I have the coolest job. Scott gets to be the one who flips that massive switch. And so he thinks he's got the coolest job.
Countdown is fun too.
What?
The countdown is fun
Yeah.
too.
Well,
Everybody gets
I thought you
into
said
it.
the shutdown was fun,
No,
because
the
it is kind of fun
countdown.
to kill the lights and hear people who are still walking around after and go, ah, and you're like, yeah, I know.
The countdown.
We've got 4 reindeer on site for the whole event, 4 live reindeer. You can learn a lot about them by walking around. They're all ladies, they're all women.
Yeah.
Last year we did a nasty one. She was not the friendliest. We were warned. I still act like an 8-year-old when I get to go in there and feed the reindeer. I think it's cool as that. They're very friendly. If you have oats, they'll come right and eat out of your hand. So I brought my daughter in there. Last year I didn't. We were a little bit She was a little ornery, but they're all women. We don't put a lot of light in them,
Why?
because if you put too much lights on them, they'll shed their antlers sooner.
Oh,
So it kind of goes with the season, is why they'll shed their antlers more normally in January, because it starts to get lighter out.
okay, 'cause
So they're right out of Lake Crystal. There's a farm right out of Lake Crystal where we get them. They ship reindeer all over the country. And I kind of asked that too, because that's why we started to add some of those notes. So if you walk around it, it explains some of the things that they're all women, this, that, and the other thing. And they don't eat candy. Kids like to throw a candy cane in there. I'm like, please don't do that. But they shipped 2 down to Texas, and they had big floodlights on. Second day, both of them lost their antlers.
They did, oh, that fast.
So they paid for 2 more reindeer to get shipped down and said, you gotta get rid of the lights. So that's one of the reasons. We would like to, but they're the experts.
Okay,
on
because
the
they are in the dark.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we try to light them up as much as we can, but they are really sad they will be better. And because we have to explain it to them then on December 23rd, when one loses one side and is walking around
Right.
like this. Kind of sad, but it's all natural. It works great. Here's our board. We've got 12 members on the board. Most of us, if not all of us right now, are Kiwanians. It started that way. Almost everybody on the board is in Kiwanis, and a lot of these people have been involved since day one. You know, we've got a lot of continuity with the event. I tell you, when we began, it was very vertical in the way our leadership was. We all did a lot. People like Mike and others have stepped up to fill in some of those spots where we can go a little more horizontal and do a little bit less. You know, to me, that's important. That's how you get longevity in an event like this. We need to spread the work out, because we do work year-round. I think somebody said, when did you start? Last year? Well, kind of. I mean, there are some of those things where you already worked. By the end of the event, you were planning for the next year. And so there's been a lot of work. We've had businesses come down and help in our warehouse and a lot of those things. And it's pretty spectacular. It really is. And I talk about this being visual. I'm just going to pull up these pictures and kind of go through it, so you can kind of get an idea. The neat part is, man, people who can take good pictures, they do an awesome job. Way better than me. So up on the hill, you can kind of get up and see some of this stuff. This isn't a lift that we set up for sport kids to come on out and see. Let's see if I can get through all these. This is the center tree that goes up each and every year. It's an old radio antenna that goes up the center of it. It's anchored into concrete in the ground, and then each of the guide wires come down. This is from a few years ago. We've added some displays in the middle of it. This is the original star that we made. Kind of looks a little wonky. We had somebody whose mom passed away and left some money to be donated in the community, and they bought us a brand new star, which cost $1,000. The thing's 5 feet big, but now that goes up on top. And he said, my mom wouldn't want anything more than her to be on top of Kiwanis. There's about 30,000 lights that go up on this. This takes about a day and a half to put up, and takes about an hour and a half to take down. Which is always cool when that goes up. That we light up. That Sunday night when this is up, we always light that thing out, because that's just cool. If you want to get really dizzy, you go stand inside of it and spin around a little bit. That gets you a little bit, that's a little trippy there. This is just some people walking through. This is a walking tunnel that's synced up to the music. We added this, I think, in the third or fourth year of it. It's 100 arches that goes over the top, and it's all synced up to that music. The dancing lights area, if you go down there, we have about 18 songs that are rotated throughout the event. We add in a couple, take out a couple, and kind of change it. The area has grown dramatically. If you have a 3-minute song, our programmer figures it's about 40 hours to program one song for that area. So people go, why don't you change it more? And I said, we'd love to have your help on that. We'd love to have you spend, and you will never like that Christmas song again once you're done listening to it and listening to it and listening to it. The last couple of years we've added live ice sculpting. I think this will be our 5th year doing it. This was one of the first years they did a dragon, and we light it up. Depending on the weather, it'll last a while, or if it's really warm, it'll go away in a hurry. The last couple of years we've had 4 different sculptures competing, which it's cool. I mean, again, you get to go in there and watch guys with a vision and chainsaws, and when they're done, you're like, how in the heck? I can't draw a stick figure. You know, it's amazing. We're doing it again this year. It'll be the 3rd weekend in December, and we are moving it. It's going to go over more by the playground, so cars will be able to drive and see it, which is awesome. Let's give people another distraction to get into a car accident, right? You know, lights off, cars, people at night. This is spectacular. But this is cool. This is one of the neat events that we added over the course of the few years. This is one of those you know, visions that you get from a drone up high. And it's pretty spectacular to think about it. And when I show it to people, they go, oh, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, that's 55 feet high. That shows you how big this whole thing is and what we've added and where you can go. And you can see where the, you know, people walk around. You can see right where that path is and all the displays that are out there. See the skating rink lit up under the trees that no longer exist there. This is taken from up on the hill. You can see the little time lapse, the vehicles going through. And again, some of these pictures are just blown away at how good those people do hanging those lights up in the trees. It's pretty amazing to see. Again, one of the views from up there. The neat part about this, and I kind of gave my timeline getting here, is I had heard of Mary's Circle. I had heard of the lights of Broad Street, but those had gone away by the time we came down here. So when we came up with this idea, people jumped on, they knew kind of what the vision was. So a lot of these characters that you see in here, they came from Mary's Circle. A lot of things got donated back, which is neat for those people who went to those events to be able to see some of that stuff. This is one of the ice sculptures. That's an angel with her wings going up. And these are just strands of lights. And you know how those get put in? With a drill. You drill each hole. And you have to get your fingers wet so the light gets wet and it sticks to the ice. You can't feel your fingers when you're done with that. There's a, what is this? A mantle fireplace with the mantle and the stockings hanging. Again, these pictures, I mean, these guys are pretty amazing. This is the dragon being made that year, which I just thought was fun to see. Let's see. Mike, I don't know if I need music on this.
It should work though.
I don't know how loud it's going to be. There you go. So this was a tunnel, and this is what people like the most. This is by far one of our most popular places to go through and stand. This is the only place my kid wants to be. She wants to be in this whole area and not move. She just dances and hangs out. I have a few other videos that I tried to find in the whole area. So a couple years ago we synced it up and we put drones above it. I took the same music so we could see from up high all the light stuff. And then YouTube shut my video down because it's unlawful use of the sun or something. I couldn't broadcast it. But that is kind of it. I mean, does that, do you guys have any questions at all? I mean, I tried to cover as much. Yes, no, I think there are actually a few more pictures in here. We added, this is our military display. We added that year one. We're adding 3 new displays to it this year. A couple of big eagles and the flag raising at Iwo Jima, and they are awesome. These displays are spectacular. This is an area we wanted to kind of dress up a little bit more. These are some of the nonprofit trees that you can kind of see decorated after a fresh coat of snow. I forget if that was Echo a couple of years ago with the can of tomato soup over it. I thought they did a great job. There's that. There's my little, my oldest is hanging out in there. She volunteers. I'm about 10% as productive the days and she comes down here with me, but it's fun. There's the ladies coming out there to eat. The reindeer, again, are a neat attraction, and we have them the whole event. The first couple of years, we just had them through December 24th, because then we said they had to go work. We got asked to keep them longer, because people wanted to see them. That's the lineup opening night. I think every place down at that park is filled. I think last year we had about 2 years ago, about 6,000 people. Last year it rained. Last year was not fun. There's Santa. We have Santa every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night up until December 24th in the park, so I think that's 9, 10, or 11 nights, depending on the year. Every kid gets candy cane. We give out books to start with. We had our own custom coloring book made one year. Last year was a big poster of Kiwanis holiday lights that all the kids got. Again, that's my kids. And Santa. We like that Santa. Yeah, they've grown up. I suppose you only saw him if you were at the game when she was probably less than 1. There's the skating rink. After a fresh coat of snow, you can see the footprints. The snowmen that we have down in the dancing lights, and a lot of the stuff we make ourselves. This is the first iteration of snowmen. We made second ones, and we ended up buying the third ones that have worked the best. I will not tell you how much I swore when I made those snowmen.
What did you make them out of?
It was like, the material is like the yard sign material that you see, that's corrugated fiberglass, and we used hot glue guns to stick it all together. It looked cool, because you had to have something translucent so the lights could come through. But when it got cold and those things started to pop apart, yeah, we just destroyed those after that first year. This is the hillside of all the lights, the dancing lights area. All this was added about 3 or 4 years ago as we slowly start to expand more and more. It's awesome when we can do all that. This is the view from the trestle up by CHS, so if you go stand up, this is one of the views. This is the whole dancing lights area, and I picked this because this is one of the few parts of one song where everything is lit up. And I'm one of the few people who know what the heck is going on in that area too. Another view just to the left of that as you look at the park and just to see how much that is growing. And a little quieter version of that picture. And now that's all the picture. I have got so many pictures, and we've got so many great people that really do an amazing job, you know, working on this. It truly has been one of those things where I couldn't envision where this is. I've talked a lot. What do you have for questions?
I have a comment. I went down there, I wanted to stop when you were right coming from the bean company there. So I'm gonna make the curve, I think I'm gonna make the curve, but some lady blocks the whole intersection. Everything shuts down. I'm sitting with the two grandkids and finally a guy comes over the car, don't worry about this when we get her handled. I know when they got it handled, they said, actually, you're going in the park, but be sure that you don't hit anyone. And so we got to park, and that was for the parade, and then we did the walk. I'm only going once, just so you know. I used one of these. I put the youngest grandchild on it, but they are still talking about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they don't need to take me, but I thought that was so nice of you guys, and I was very careful I didn't kill anybody on the road.
Well,
I'm like, how did we end up? And it was so nice for me because the parade was like where
Right.
the hallway was, but I just parked and
that's,
they got it all.
it's one of the challenges of the whole event down there is where do you put on an event like this where you have ample parking and access, where you can drive through and walk through. And there's no other park in town that would, because you know, they say, hey, could you do this at Riverfront Park? You know, that'd be great to park, but there's no place like this that we could do it. And logistically, we've worked with all the neighbors down there. I just had a guy, we had our volunteer meeting, Mike, that was Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, boy, we were in the meat of it. It's like my 4th holiday lights meeting this week, and it's Wednesday. And there was a guy who lives down in the neighborhood who wanted to help learn how to program the dancing lights. And he talked about, you know, it's a little bit of a pain opening night, but we kind of get used to it. And then you take for granted you can just go whenever the heck you want. He's like, I go for a walk each night. I get to go for a walk through the lights every night. And then come January and the lights are off, it kind of sucks to go walk down there again. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Opening night in the parade's a pain, I'm not gonna lie. That, you know, let's put in a big event on where we want thousands of people to go, where the whole park is blocked off by railroad tracks and a river and a highway.
Right.
I don't have a good answer for you. I mean, that's one of the logistical things that,
Busing.
we've talked about that, but then how do, you can't even transport people in and out that fast, and most people want the flexibility to just walk to their car and go. Especially with me, with my kids, I don't wanna wait for it. If it's time to go and they're being brats, I mean, my kids are angels, I wanna
You
go.
got girls, you shouldn't have brats.
I hear they're easier now, but give them 10 years.
Yeah, wait until
But
13.
we are working this year, it's funny you bring that up, we've talked about that for years, and the cost that goes into it is, you know, can you get the bus company to donate their time and energy? We don't know if it's gonna happen this year, probably next year. The city is going to add a bus route that will go through the lights, stop, drop off, and run 4 or 5 nights during select days during the week. And so you can get dropped off, you know, pay your 75-cent bus pass or whatever, and either, you know, pick a couple of spots where they pick up, go through, which I thought is a neat idea for us. I don't know how we'd incorporate it into opening night, and, you know, logistically it is what it is sometimes. But I thought, we've talked about that, who could we find to partner with us on something like that? We got a lot of buses that go through from various places in the community. We've got a separate entrance for them. By past one, we let them in, we let them go through the loop, we'll give a tour guide if needed, and that has been wildly successful.
But you know they will pay to be on a bus and go through rather than to park and walk.
Sometimes, yeah. Opening night, we really can't do much about it, because that night's chaos the way
Yeah.
it is.
You're a pretty good writer, when are you gonna write a book about this?
You know, this would be tame compared to my days with the Moondogs. I give you a lot of good stories from the Moondogs. This has been fun, I'll tell you, but there's nights where there's no rule book for some of the things we encounter. Some of the people that are upset and you know, you get berated by some people and you don't let them in after hours and, you know, you know, one guy said, hey, let me refund your money. Well, I didn't pay anything. I said, exactly. We're trying to put this on, we're all volunteers. I don't need, you know, we're trying to do our best.
We're not paying to go through the park.
Right, and we'd love to, you try to listen to everybody, because for every wacky idea that we've thought of, all of a sudden the next idea comes through and you go, oh, that's a great idea, why didn't we think of that? And you try to incorporate it the next year, and some of those things, it's amazing. Honestly, Dwayne, it's been so much fun. It's so much time and energy, but that opening night, the energy, and I've seen family members that'll drive 3-4 hours, probably wouldn't come and have lunch or dinner with us, but they'll come through the lights, and then they'll stick around and dinner. And inevitably, when I go with those people, it's a walking tour, and all of a sudden my group of 5 becomes 10, becomes 12. People just kind of add on, because they've learned a lot about the park. And so we've done some giveaways with that, where we'll give tours for some of the charities that'll do like a raffle, and then we'll include somebody who will, be able to, learn about the lights and stuff.
How long was shifted the volunteers working at, like, the crossing guards and that kind of stuff?
The crossing guards, that shift is, let's see here. Our volunteers on our nights come from all our partner nonprofits and the businesses that sponsor it. We ask that the shift is generally from the entire night, but we will have on a weeknight, gosh, I just went over all this stuff. I think we ask for 24 volunteers. On the weekends, we ask for 32. And that is scheduled out. I mean, all those nights are almost all scheduled by Matt already. And what it ends up being is probably 3 groups that work. And one will have 8, one will have 10, one will have 12. And then we shift everybody out in the park, and generally speaking, we'll have 8 to 10 people not working at any given time. So while people aren't working, they're in the trailer, they're warming up, they're having their cup of hot cocoa, and then we just kind of create a rotation throughout the park. I would tell you that when Mike runs the park different than when I run the park. Just the way we operate, it's naturally. You have some people that dress up nice and be like, I'll be at Dancing Lights, tell me when we should close. And they don't want to be out there for 4 hours. Problem is, when they get cold at 7:30, and I already have 8 people on break, well, I can give them breaks. I just started a break for everybody else. So you work through rotation. The nights where it's 45 degrees, that's easy. The nights where it's 10 below, we're moving people every 5 minutes. And they're going from one, and then they shift. And so what we find is, you just don't come back to the trailer. You walk to the next one. Because you walk, you move up, you warm up. And then you walk to the next one, then you come in. We've, first year, I won't tell you we really had a plan for it. Now we've got a plan for almost everything. And on the weekends, again, it's all our nonprofits. We work from 9 to noon, and then we work from 1 to 4. And there's one night, either the 4th or 5th weekend, where we work a 4:30 to 7 shift, because then we have darkness, and we can turn lights on and fix lights that are broken. That we also do.
9 to noon, are you open during the day then?
No, these are on the weekends
On
during
the
Saturday.
farm, yeah, on the
Yeah,
weekends.
so that'll be starting this weekend, all our nonprofits.
Okay.
We have shifts from 9 to noon, and then we get a little lunch break, and then we work 1 to 4. And generally, by the end of that, I'll tell you, I'm exhausted. Because I'll get there about 7:30, and we leave about 4:50, and I'm ready for, what do they call it these days, an adult beverage? I think that's what I'm looking for. Carol, you had a question?
Yes, I loved your presentation, but my mind's going like this because it seems like it would be so chaotic. How do you stay connected? How can you send a message from this corner of the park to that corner of the park? And if somebody comes in and you suspect they're crazy.
We haven't had too many of those, but Dwayne hasn't visited that often.
Well, you got Pat Stone right there, you can take it over there.
But how do you stay? Do you have key captains spaced all over to be the primary connect?
We have what we call as our park ranger, who's in charge of the park that night. I'm a ranger. The first year I did it 5 nights. The last handful of years I've done it 2, which is enough, because I spend enough time getting ready, and that's normally what we ask. On my nights, I'll have 2 to 3 assistant rangers who are helping me out. One of the guys, Mike, has done this with me forever. I give the spiel to start the park. I think he could run the park. I just don't think he wants to.
But
I don't think he wants to be. Yep, so we all meet in our trailer, we go over our roles and responsibilities for all the volunteers. And then we have a map in there that kind of shows where all the volunteers are. Everybody, the 16 or so people, if we have 24, keep 8 in there, we have the 16 people that go out. And they bring their bucket to collect their cash, which is lit up. And I tell them to never set down that bucket, because there's money in there, don't set that down. It's the only time I get a little ornery with my volunteers. I found one lady who left and set it down, and I picked up a bucket at about $100 a day. That didn't make me happy. And then they get wands for traffic, so they can stop the traffic, because if you get a wand, I don't care if you don't work for the Civic Center, they have a concert, if you have a wand, you can go anywhere you want. That lit up wand gets you in anywhere. And then they all get walkie-talkies. In each of the areas, they have a walkie-talkie. So that's how we can communicate with everybody. So when I send you out to go replace somebody, you'll bring a fresh bucket, they'll bring their bucket in, so we keep less cash out there. That goes to the front of the secured trailer. where it's, no one can get in there unless you have key access or a key code. And then you take the walkie-talkie from them, they come in, and so now you're in constant communication with those. And generally speaking, on our nights, either myself, Mike, or my other assistant ranger will probably rotate through the park about every half hour to 45 minutes. Check on things, make sure things are going right, make sure lights are on,
Do they
fix
have
some
pony
things.
or something they can ride?
No, you get your steps in, you know, you got these counters, you gotta get your steps in, that's how you get it. And we got vehicles to go around, and all things considered, we've had very few. You mentioned, you know, what if somebody's crazy? We've had a handful of car accidents, very few, you know, and when you're going that slow, it's a fender bender. We had somebody who did have a medical emergency, and foot slipped out brake, and they crashed into another car and then went off the road. There's the big sign, I had it on one of the pictures, as you drive in the park. It's a huge sign. It's not light, and they missed the pole that holds it up by probably a foot and a half. Had they hit that, they probably collapsed that whole sign. We got kind of lucky there. We've had a few kids who've misplaced their parents, if that's a nice way to put that situation. And that's where the walkie-talkies come in key, because you find somebody, you get them to the trailer, and that's generally the safest. That's where our lost and found is, but we make sure that they're safe, they're sitting there. I had one of those on one of my nights, and their parent was just, they were playing on the playground, got confused, their parent was just sitting in their car. So we talked to the kid, figured out, hey, where could your mom be? Would you drive? Oh yeah, we were over there. Would you drive? Went and found. Sure enough, the mom's sitting watching the video on their phone. And just kind of go, be out with your kid. Whatever. I mean, I'm not the perfect parent either. But you know, that one we were able to locate. In that case, you know, the parent should have paid more attention. And so we have a few random. The parade, we had somebody that got separated, and their grandparent lived 3 blocks away down in that neighborhood. So we sent one of our people with a police officer, and we walked the kid home, and they had family there. Other people were still at the park looking. We walked them right down there, and everything was good. So we have the police down there. They help direct traffic on the weekends. When we do have an emergency, they're blocks away, which is really nice. But all things considered, it's gone. Our lawyer on our board, Chris Rowe, who you know who's in our club, he keeps saying something's going to happen. But knock on wood, 7 years, we've been pretty lucky with it.
It's so nice.
I was going to mention, Chris, because you said we've always opened, but we've sometimes had to shut down early, and it's usually when Chris is.
You want the OS moment? So 3 times we've lost power at that park permanently, and all 3 nights, Chris Rowe, who's on our board, has been the person in charge of the park where it's gone down. All 3 nights, it's happened to be when we had our live ice sculpting. So by the 3rd time, we kind of figured things out. The first year, we were just like, but we shouldn't overlook it. We built that park where we could double the amount of lights we had in there before, or the power we put in would have any issues. So Chris had it. It happened 1 year. The next year, it happened on Friday, about 9 o'clock. So mostly open through 10. Saturday night, it happened again. And what we found out is we may have all this power in the park, right? We're good. But what's leading into the park wasn't as much power as we could handle in the park. So there's a transformer where our reindeer are. It's on the ground. What's inside the park, I don't know the proper terms, but we had double the amount of power that we needed. What was coming in was less than what we needed. So that night, and I could handle social media, I will tell you our Facebook page was not a pleasant place to be. And by 1 o'clock that night, XL Energy had been down there, diagnosed the problem, brought in parts, fixed it, where we should never have another power issue in that park. We feel confident. I'm like, do you feel 100% confident? They're like, we're confident. They donated their time, they